I'm no sociologist. I'm no social scientist. So maybe I shouldn't just riff off the top here. But there's something about conservatism itself that embeds itself. The conservatism, whether that's like neoliberalism or liberalism classically understood or conservatism, I mean, all these labels get squishy. But there's a Western culture that is, by and large, whiteness and Christianity. And it's just totally in our politics. And I think those on the left, or those who are like liberal in the sense of progressive, have just continued to cede ground to the right. And whether this is like Overton window speech or whatever, I think Western culture is white Christianity. Because Western culture expands from 1451, like halfway through the 15th century, like that 500-600 years ago. The Pope at the time, a papal bull, like a decree, the doctrine of discovery, sent out, colonizers, right? And I know these are like buzzwordy things to do. I mean, you can call them whatever you want to call them, but sent people out and said, hey, go out in the world. And when you come upon cultures that are not Christian, then do whatever you want with them, right? Convert them, enslave them, conversion by torture. I mean, all of these things. And it's in the Crusades and it's in the Spanish Inquisition, but it all comes back to this papal bull, this decree issued in 1451 that sends out, conquerors in effect. And then, local populations, native populations, etc., understand that, we got to play a little game here. So, we might convert, but then, keep some private practice of where you came from. And then when, the colonizers get wise to that, they're like, wait a minute, they're just going to tell us that they converted to Christianity. So then they have to start, implementing racialized categorizations for people. And so you start to get this stuff about, savages and things like this. And of course, the whole idea of an Anglo-Saxon Aryan, like this is the greatest that's ever been, this normative understanding of people, which is whiteness. And so Christianity and whiteness, that's at the very heart of Western cultural expansion. And that entitlement is infused into Americans of European descent, into the European imperial project, into the American imperial project. And we see it right now in real time around attacks on diversity, equity, and inclusion is just attacks on non-white people. The idea of Christian nationalism, of the 10 Commandments in schools, of prayer in schools. I mean, all of that, it's just this continued entitlement and positioning of Christianity married to whiteness, married to Anglo-Saxon, married to Western imperial expansion. I mean, this is one big package that might have different phenotypes, might have different presentations at different times or in different geographies. But at the very heart of this is 500 or 600 years of an imperial colonial expansion project that at its very core is whiteness and Christianity. That just is out there. And then it's a very natural ordered thinking. And we see that natural hierarchy, natural ordered thinking live out in modern conservative politics. In conservative Christianity. Well, no, there's just one right read on the Bible, and it all points to Jesus, and we know what it is, and y'all don't, right? And my interaction with that has been around doing Jewish biblical commentary from the Tanakh or the Hebrew Bible, talking about that, and Christians reacting to it like, well, you're just absolutely wrong. This inability to tolerate a diversity of viewpoint, a pluralistic viewpoint. This whole attack that to be transgender, that is reduced to an ideology, that it's all choice driven and ideologically driven, as opposed to the understanding that people themselves, that people ourselves come with different phenotypic presentations. Now we're a little different. We've got different expressions and different who we love is different, right? And how we understand ourselves and how we couch our identities in where we came from and our ancestry and our ethnicity and all of this, right? All of that gets sacrificed on the altar of whiteness and Christianity. And it's just is the case, and this, of course, infuses, the framers of the Constitution are greatly informed by Enlightenment thinking, by rationality, by reason, by choice, by all of those Enlightenment values that were supposed to deliver on prosperity. That's just a continuation of this Western ideological frame. So I don't think it should surprise any of us today that this, backlash to multiculturalism just comes from a fountain of whiteness and a fountain of Christianity. Because for 600 years, Western culture just has been white Christianity. Now, maybe it's, white American evangelical Christianity today, sure, is different from maybe global Christianity or something. But this idea that, we're ordained by God to understand how to teach the rest of the world something, right? How to bring salvation and how to, attack the hedonists, right? And, you've got to attack people that have different interpretations of the book that we have exclusive access to as, white Christians. All of that is hierarchical, natural ordered thinking where certain people are at the top, other people are at the bottom. You can't tolerate diversity. You can't tolerate pluralism. And that you build your whole personality and worldview around the entitlements of Christianity and whiteness. And that's just is how it's gone. And that's embedded in what Western culture is. And the more that you dismantle education, the more that you try to infuse that Western worldview into everything else that's happening, you're getting in the way of people unlearning their traditions and examining their traditions. And in the process, you're harming the very people who espouse that ideology, because all of us people who classify as white have a rich cultural history behind us that we could pull from to find meaning and purpose in our lives. But we've been forced to give up those cultural, ethnic, ancestral identities to have proximity to power. And we see it right now, right? The Border Patrol, as they are intercepting people, green card holding American residents, they're intercepting them and locking them away, disappearing them. This idea that you just simply cannot tolerate diversity. It's been that way for hundreds and hundreds of years. And I think, for a while, there was a move, right, to develop some more cultural sensitivity. But was there ever really an authentic move in that direction? I would like to think things like civil rights through the 60s were moving us in the direction of more cultural sensitivity, more tolerance, more understanding of multiculturalism, and more understanding of religious pluralism and things like this. But all of that move in those progressive directions, which are about lifting up everybody and about uncovering who we really are at our core, has caused such a backlash that now we see that cultural backlash, and it's completely disguised the class war from us, so that people who think that I just want to own the libs are actually themselves being owned by the ruling and capitalist class. But the real truth has been so disguised from them that people are unable to have that kind of cultural reckoning to understand how they've been played by the very system that they're helping to perpetuate.